Welcome back, fans, to the ECHL Insider. I'm your host, Garrett Hunter, excited to do our last off-season episode before in 2 weeks we start talking about season content. We will talk about the Mountain Division today, each team in this Mountain Division, and wow, is this just a thrilling division coming down to March and April of this year. The playoff race, boy, was it close. It came down to, last second stuff, and we'll talk about that later. Let's get now to number 7, team that did not come down to the wire as a playoff contender, the Tulsa Oilers. Season before, they were in the playoffs, a Game 7 loss to the number 1 seed Utah Grizzlies in the division. And Tulsa came into that game confident. They came up just short in that one to moving on. And then from there, everything just went downhill for this franchise. It felt like in the past season, finishing last in the division and really just getting blown out in several games. Just the offensive output not there for this team. They look to just kind of regather themselves as a team and get ready for the year ahead of them. Up at number 6 is the Rapid City Rush. They had another rocky season in that Mountain Division. It came down to the last weekend where they still had a chance at making the playoffs, but unfortunately, it was a 3-game series with Idaho Steelheads, and they underperformed in that series, so they did not make the playoffs. And it was just the way the scheduling worked. They knew it was going to come down to that series. If they were going to be able to sweep the Steelheads, they were going to be able to move on, but it just did not work out for them. Steelheads, such a great team in the Mountain Division, so they missed the playoffs, but still a very good effort, I feel like, last year. I feel like there was a lot of games that they should have won, a lot of close ones, and I think I'm very optimistic about this team coming in. I think they're kind of that dark horse in this division coming up in this next year. I think Rapid City is a team to definitely watch out for in the Western Conference. At number 5 was the Wichita Thunder, probably the most disappointing end to last season of any ECHL franchise. Came down to a shootout in Allen, Texas, where if they won this shootout, have a chance if the Utah Grizzlies lose, that they could have made the playoffs that night. I mean, I just cannot imagine being on the ice, taking that shootout shot, trying to win for your team and get 2 points to possibly make the playoffs, and they lost the shootout, and that shootout loss led to Utah slipping into that 4th place spot. But for most of the season, Wichita was in playoff position. Utah was in like 5th or 6th place. So they really felt good about their chances. And then last 4 weeks of the season, it just kind of fell apart for them. Came down to that last weekend where they were not able to get the job done in Allen, and it opened up a hole for Utah Grizzlies to slip in. So with that, we'll move on to the 4 playoff teams. Utah Grizzlies at number 4. Coming into that last weekend, they were not in the playoffs, but they had a 3-game series against the last place Tulsa Oilers at home. And they definitely had an opportunity, 3-game series, and they took advantage of it. Won all 3 games, got just enough points to clinch that last place in the Western Conference Mountain Division and made the playoffs. And while it looked slim coming in, I just think this team had so much confidence in what they were capable of, and they definitely showed it in that last weekend. That was arguably the best weekend of hockey the Grizzlies played all season long. It was very good, very dominant against the Oilers. At number 3 is the Kansas City Mavericks. They lost a round 1 series to the Allen Americans, and really came down to that game 2, where after regulation 0-0, going to overtime, and they just could not get that goal, so they got down the series 2-0. And I think that was just a big turning point for the Mavericks in the series. I think they did play a really good regular season, a lot of good offense. But in that playoff series, I remember watching that playoff game. It's 0-0. A lot of good opportunities in the 3rd period. But had they been able to do that, tie that series, it would have just changed the whole series, I feel like. That overtime winner for the Americans really just flipped the series upside down. And from there, Kansas City was never able to get a lead in the series. Up at number 2 is the team that we just talked about, who beat the Kansas City Mavericks, the Allen Americans. They won that round 1 matchup against the Mavericks. Good close series it was. What a great win it was. Game 2 in overtime, 1-0. And then they moved on round 2 against Idaho, where they got overwhelmed. Really just a just dominant performance by Steelheads in that series. And Allen, it just looked like that elimination game. It looked like they just had no chance really from the get-go. It was just they got steamrolled by the Steelheads. They just thought maybe they would have a chance if they could win the first period. You win the first period, you go on the next period, take it step by step. But they just got blown out from the start in that game and end up losing the series 4-1. And now the team that won the Mountain Division, the most dominant regular season we've ever seen by an ECHL team, the Idaho Steelheads. Wow, from the get-go, record-setting season. So many records these guys broke, and boy, was it just behind a dominant offense. I mean, you're stacking 5, 6, 7 goals a game. Adam Scheel in goal, he I can't even remember how many shutouts he had. Just feels like every time I was watching their games, it was just Idaho Steelheads 5, other team 0. I mean, he was shutout after shutout for Scheel. He was arguably, in my opinion, the best goalie in the league. I know John Letherman won that award, but he was the runner-up, and I feel like he should have won. He was an amazing goalie. Obviously, that amazing stop where, back-to-back saves in the crease, and he comes with that big glove save on Jordan Sandbrook for the Mavericks. I know he's still remembering that. That was probably the highlight of the season for Adam Scheel. What a save that was. But that was just like a sample of what this season looked like for the Steelheads. They just kept rolling. 4-1 in the conference finals against the Toledo Walleye. And they rolled in the finals. I feel like they were picked to win that series against the Everblades. And as soon as that puck dropped game 1, you get that close game 1, game 2, not really that close. And then as soon as the series shifted to a stereo, it was handwriting on the wall for the Steelheads that they were going to lose that. And just very surprised that they got swept against the Florida Everblades. Very, very surprising to me. And just a hard finish, I feel like, for this team compared to how well they played the regular season. 3 series out of the postseason, and they just were not able to finish to get the Kelly Cup title. Well, make sure to join us in 2 weeks as we will talk about week 1 of the ECHL regular season. Make sure to subscribe to our channel below. Leave your comments. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.